Today we're going to be playing Hold Your Tongues, which is another romance or horror romance game. Let's go ahead and get started. Romance or horror romance game. What is your name? Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go with the old standby. What is your name? I'm going to go with the old standby. Sitting at the edge of the cliff, I stared. I'd grown desperate to catch a glimpse of the creature whispering when the others felt safe enough from the night. Impudent men who had taste of human flesh grew into monstrous shapes. Impudent men who had transformation was deemed repulsive and sinful. I hardly cared. They had ascended and freed themselves from their constraints. I longed to do the same, but it was yet another thing men kept to themselves. I longed to do the same. For now, I could only hope to learn what little I had heard. One had been sighted near the shore, and so I came here to see, to know for sure. Sighted near the shore. So I came here to see. Time had passed. The moon, once high in the sky, was moving away. The waters below had shared none of their secrets. How much more could I wait? How much faith had I left? How much resignation? How much faith the answer was one I feared. How much resignation? The answer took my eyes off the abyss and glanced at my pocket watch. 6 hours had passed. 6 hours of nothing but waves crashing and crashing as they met the end of the sea. 6 hours of nothing but waves, each replacing another, only to be replaced again by the one that followed. Each replacing another, only to be replaced again by the one that followed. They didn't leave much behind. Salty drops on my cheeks were all they had. They didn't leave much behind. One fell into my eye. Salty drops on my cheeks. Lifting my head, I cried out. One fell into my eye. Tear rolled down, I cried out. Long hair splayed around a face I couldn't make. Tear rolled down, tail of red glistening under the softest light. Around a face I couldn't make. 2 eyes I couldn't stare into, but sense creeping into my very soul. 2 eyes I couldn't stare into, but sense. My feet were burning, my knees shaking, my legs threatened to falter. My feet were everything begged me to stop. My legs threatened to falter. I trapped their silent wails deep in my throat. Begged me to stop. I took the only step I needed to. It was my choice, my fault. I took the only step I needed to. It was my choice. Between her arms and the sides were the sky and its stars. Between her arms, shaping her celestial wings, they granted him light. In her when her feet took off the cliff, they granted him light. They followed her down. When her feet took off the cliff, unseen shackles weighted her body. They followed her down. And yet, for a fraction of time, she seemed to fly. Weighted her body. He jumped. And yet, for a fraction of time, she entered his waters. It didn't take long. He jumped. He had caught her. His waters. It didn't take long. My throat was dry. He had caught her. My hair stuck to my face. My head was full to the brim. My hair stuck to my face. My back hurt and my chest felt empty. My head was full to the brim. My knees were freezing and my feet lost their cold. My nose smelled things it shouldn't have. Things I had been waiting to breathe in. My nose smelled things it shouldn't have. See and decay. I opened my eyes. See and decay. I opened my eyes. They instantly found his. Neither of us blinked. Found his. We took in everything of the other. Blinked. Seeing wasn't enough. We took in everything. To me, nothing would ever be. Still, I didn't dare to move. To me, nothing. Nor did I dare to ask if he was satisfied. I didn't dare to move. I want wings. Nor did I dare to ask if he was satisfied. The words were easy to understand. I want wings. The sentence that they formed wasn't quite so. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to wait for more. For an explanation. Something to latch on to. Time and silence gave me none. Something to latch on to. Slowly sliding up my arm, a wet hand found a shoulder to cage under its nails. Slowly sliding up my arm, a wet hand found a shoulder to cage. I pressed my teeth around my tongue, pinning it still. It prevented even the tiniest of cries from leaking into what ears he had. It prevented even the tiniest of cries from leaking into what ears he had. Give when his intentions seemed so unclear. Carefully, I released my tongue. His intentions seemed calmly, I inhaled. Carefully, I released my tongue. What kind of wings? Calmly, I inhaled. Did he care about their size, their color, the birds they came from? Did he care about their size, their color, the birds they came from? Seemingly simple. Big wings. His eyes sparkled like those of an innocent child. Seemingly simple. What for? His eyes sparkled like those of an innocent child. He pointed to his back, extended his arms, and smiled. He pointed to his back, extended his arms, and smiled. Why would he, when the depths were wholly his? Why was nothing truly enough? The depths were wholly his. I had no wish to know. Was nothing truly enough? I had no wish to know. You want me to find a way? How? Yes. You want me to find a way? Start. Yes. What materials could I use? Where was I supposed to start? Did you want feathers? Should they be assembled on a solid metallic structure? Should they be assembled the finished product to his body with more metal, some kind of rope? How would I on his back, his arms? To his body with more metal, some kind of rope? Could I make it on his back, his arms? Could he fly? Would I stay attached? I chewed on my tongue. Could he fly? Can I take a look at your back? I chewed on my tongue. I held up my hand. Can I take a look at your back? For him to consider. How much of a threat could I ever pose? In limbs for him to consider. How much of a threat could I ever pose? Even then, I was much more vulnerable than he could ever be. Even that much was clear. Much more. Tell me if you want me to stop. Than he could ever be. That much was clear. His naked back was different from the ones that I had come to know over the years. The color looked unusual. The lack of warmth felt disturbing, but the bones and muscles. The color looked unusual. Under had to work the same. Disturbing, but the bones and muscles. Both were distinctly human. Had to work the same. It wouldn't hurt to try. Both were distinctly human. Even if they proved themselves to be useless, he could still have wings to show in land. Even if they proved themselves to be useless, he could still have wings to show in land. I looked down. The smile on his face was the widest I'd seen so far. The smile on his face was the widest I'd seen so far, and all that he could reveal. It made me. He pressed his hand to his chest, proud and full, about to confess. He pressed his hand to his chest, proud and full, about to confess. One after the other, he ripped the stitches that ran down his abdomen. One after the other, he ripped the stitches, wishing there was nothing more than tracing along the bloody dot he left behind. Wishing there was nothing more than tracing along the bloody dot he left behind. And then my eyes completely locked, tightly closed. Flaps of skin parted ways, my eyes completely to have his inside exposed. Flaps of skin parted ways. His ribcage showed none of the organs it should have. It overflowed with a multitude of tongues. It should have. It overflowed with a multitude of tongues. My teeth released the only tongue I had. They would be heavy. My teeth released the only tongue I had. I will need time. They would be heavy. Don't worry, I'm not running away. I'll just need to work on your wings. Don't worry, I'm not running away. I'll need to find your limits. I'll just need to work on your wings. How much could his body take? I'll need to find your limits. Can we meet here at night? How much could his body take? I could still see all that his chest held. Can we meet here at night? Can you sew yourself back together and keep the tongues for me now? Red and whites were once again hidden under the skin. What kind of needle and thread would he use? I stared. Too hard, perhaps? What kind of needle and thread would he use? Could you show me another time? Too hard, perhaps? Yes. Thank you. Could you show me another time? I turned around, hardly concealing my trembling limbs. We can meet in 2 nights. Hardly concealing my trembling limbs. 1 night. We can meet in 2 nights. Without ever looking back, I walked. Fine. If my eyes caught sight of him again, without ever looking back, everything would scream for me never to leave what I just found. If my eyes caught sight of him again, my everything would scream for me never to leave what I just found. That night, for the first time since I left, the rocks I drowsed on provided me with warmth and comfort. Since I left, the rocks, together with plans, hopes, and dreams, they lulled me to sleep. Together with plans, hopes, and dreams, after locating washed-up trees on the shore and adding sea fennel to my supply, I let myself rest under a tree, adding sea fennel to my supply. Even now, steady breaths sounded wrong to my ears, repeating that I was safe, that I was learning, that I wasn't moving on. Repeating that I was safe, that I was learning, that I wasn't. Part of me still heard and pictured his naked body, calm, unmoving, even after everything. Still heard and pictured his naked body, lying next to me, he seemed like a man. After everything, Eric, the one I knew and lying next to me, he seemed like a man. Yet this very man had hurled me at the disgusting insides I should have noticed before. Yet this very man had hurled me at the disgusting insides I should have noticed before. I fell to the ground, joining others. A leaf brushed. I looked up the clouds that hid the sun and filtered its light. I should go down. My basket felt lighter. I should go down. Let me carry it for you. My basket felt lighter.
No, it's fine. You don't have to bear it all alone.
No, it's fine.
His hand was on my arm, unbelievably
You don't have to bear it all alone.
It isn't that heavy.
His hand was on my arm, unbelievably warm.
I wouldn't let my eyes stray to my side.
It isn't that heavy.
I don't need you for something such as this.
I wouldn't let my eyes stray to my side. I don't need
Is the matter
you for
too
something
unimportant for me to waste my energy on?
Is the matter
Do you think your husband's so weak?
For me to waste my energy on?
Or do you consider yourself
think
too
your
good
husband's so weak?
to need my being?
Or do you consider yourself
Scalding,
too good to need my
searing? The skin he had marked with his touch burnt, begging for me to do something.
The skin he had
the scream
marked
trapped
with his touch
within
burnt,
grew too close for my tender heart.
The scream trapped
I could
within
hear
grew
them.
too
I
close
could
for
even
my tender
listen,
heart.
but it was pointless.
I
I couldn't help them.
I could even listen.
I couldn't answer
But
their
it was
cries.
pointless.
I couldn't carry them out. I couldn't do
answer
anything
their
for them.
I couldn't carry them
We
out.
couldn't do anything for each
I
other.
couldn't do anything for them.
Away from them, I ran.
We couldn't do anything for each other.
Wasn't a good idea.
Away from them,
My heels
I ran.
hammered their stupidity in me
Wasn't a
until I
good
tripped
idea.
and collapsed.
My heels
Palms
hammered
in the
their
dirt helped me keep
stupidity
my
in me
face.
until I tripped and collapsed.
Tears trickled down as I slowly
Palms
raised
in the dirt
myself
helped
once
me
more.
keep my face.
I wasn't
Tears
clean enough
trickled
to
down
wipe
as
any
I
of
slowly
it.
raised myself once
I
more.
shook my hands in the air before
I
rubbing
wasn't
them
clean
against my
enough to wipe
skirt.
any of it.
Nothing has
Shook
spilled.
my hands in the air before
I gathered
rubbing them
all I
against my
could,
skirt.
rearranging the fabric
Nothing
on top
has
of my
spilled.
basket, picking it up and
I
set my
gathered all I
feet
could,
walking.
rearranging the fabric
Nothing will.
on top of my basket,
He
picking it
laughed.
up and set my feet walking. Nothing
Come
will.
here, I'll hold these hands of
laughed.
yours. I didn't bother.
Come here, I'll
I
hold
was
these
too
hands
far
of yours.
for him to warm my
I didn't
heart.
bother.
Too far for
I was
him to
too
rub my
far
back
for
until
him
I
to
could
warm my
breathe.
heart.
Too far for him
Too
to
far
bring
for
me
him to
a
rub my
soothing
back
tea.
until I could breathe.
Too far for him
Too
to
far
share
for him to
stories
bring
of
me
birds
a soothing
flying.
tea.
Too far for him to
Too
wipe
far
my
for him
tears.
to share stories
Too
of
far
birds
for him to
flying.
soften my cheeks
Too
with
far
his
for him to
lips.
wipe my tears.
Too far for him
Too far for
to
him
paint
to
me
soften
a
my
smile
cheeks with his
with
lips.
with the brushes
far
he
for him
cherished.
To paint me a
If
smile
he wasn't
with
next
with
to
the
my
brushes
body,
he
reminding me of
cherished.
how sweet and gentle he had
If he
been,
wasn't
I had no need for
next
fear.
to my body, reminding me of how sweet and
couldn't
gentle
be
he had
there.
been, I had no need for fear.
Listen to me.
He
You
couldn't
don't have
be
to
there.
do this. Please.
Listen to me.
You're
You don't
making
have
me
to
do it.
this. Please.
I never.
You're making
Are
me
you
do
raising
it.
your voice at me?
I never.
No, please listen.
Are you raising your voice at me?
I'll come back when you're
No,
ready to
please
listen.
listen.
My words were lost
I'll
to the
come back
wind.
when you're ready to listen.
What
My
was
words were
I
lost
for
to
him
the wind.
to mind me at all? He left me empty,
What was
unable
I
to
for
think
him
or ask for
to
more.
mind me at all?
All I could
He
do was
left me
keep
empty,
on walking,
unable to think or
So I
ask for
walked
more.
and walked.
All I could do was keep on
Alone
walking.
in silence, I made my way
So I
back to
walked
the more forgiving
and walked.
sea.
Alone in silence, I made my way back to
With
the
my
more
feet
forgiving
clear of their
sea.
boots, I stepped into the water. The familiar cold
With my
embrace
feet clear of their boots,
and
I
held the
stepped into
pieces
the
of my
water.
being together.
The familiar
I
cold
bent,
embrace
immersing my
and
fingers,
held the
soaking my
pieces of my being
sleeves.
together.
The salt kissed
I
my
bent,
wound,
immersing my fingers,
was
soaking
gentle
my sleeves.
reminder.
The salt kissed
No
my
matter how
wound
much it sucked
was
my skin, the
gentle
past
reminder.
wouldn't have to drag me back.
No matter how much it
I could
sucked
run
my
away.
skin, the past wouldn't
I
have to
had,
drag me
and
back.
I would continue.
I could run away.
What are you doing?
I had, and I
I didn't
would
notice you.
continue.
Looking
What are
down,
you
my
doing?
hands had grown quite red.
I didn't notice you.
I'm sorry.
Looking down, my hands had grown
Bits
quite
had
red.
peeled off here and there.
I'm sorry.
They were dirty.
Bits had
That's
peeled
all.
off here and there.
Are they clean?
They were dirty.
Now?
That's all.
Well, I hope
Are
they are.
clean? Now?
Well,
I
he
hope they are.
disappeared underneath, his form melting with the surroundings. Bubbles floated
disappeared
upward, one
underneath,
after
his
another,
form
growing
melting with the
closer with each
surroundings.
until they stopped
Bubbles
in front
floated
of me.
upward one after
His
another.
teeth grazed my
growing
knuckles.
closer with each until they
My left
stopped in
hand
front of
found
me.
warmth in
His
his
teeth grazed my
all-encompassing
knuckles.
mouth. His
My
tongue
left hand
softened
found
around my
warmth
open
in
wounds.
his all-encompassing mouth.
Pain and surprise struck.
His tongue soft
I
around
couldn't
my open
scream.
wounds.
I couldn't move away.
Pain and surprise
I couldn't tell how
struck.
much was missing.
I couldn't scream.
I could only
couldn't
feel the
move
burning
away.
pain
couldn't tell
this
how much was
unnatural
missing.
emptiness brought me.
I could only feel the
Tears
burning
ran
pain,
down as he
pain,
tenderly
this
licked the
unnatural
space he had
emptiness brought me.
separated from flesh and
Tears
bones.
ran down as he tenderly licked the
It shouldn't have
space
been
he had
healing and
separated from
comforting.
flesh and bones.
Not so quickly.
It
Not
shouldn't
so
have been
easily.
healing and comforting.
How simple
Not so quickly.
could it really be?
Not so easily.
My left hand had
How
been
simple
released. The
could
right
it
one
really
lay
be?
on his.
My left-handed
He pressed his forward against my wrist.
Lay on his.
Then, in my palm, he dropped the prize he had seized.
Then,
Two fingers, smaller than the other.
He had seized.
I felt nothing but lighter.
Smaller than the other.
Why?
I felt
he
nothing
kept his
but
mouth
lighter.
Closed into a smile.
Why?
Well,
he kept his mouth closed into a smile.
Still, could you keep them, please?
Well, that's fine.
Keep one of the two.
Still, could you keep them, please?
With my ring finger now
Keep one
his,
of the
I
two.
sat on a dry rock near.
With my ring
I have
finger
possible
now his,
materials
I sat
in
on a
mind.
dry rock near.
I'll
I have
ask you to
possible
see what you
materials
can
in
find
mind.
in places I can't reach myself. I can draw
I'll
the
ask you
elements
to
for
see
you
what
to
you
get a
can
clear
find in
idea of
places
what we're
I can't
looking
reach
for.
myself. I can draw the elements for you to
But
get a clear
before
idea
any
of
of
what
this,
we're
I
looking
need you
for.
to trust me. I don't understand your body well
Before any
enough
of this, I need you to trust
see
me.
how it works.
I don't
I
understand
need
your
to
body
harm
well
you a
enough
little.
to
Do you
see
trust
how it
me?
works.
Are you sure?
I need to harm you a little.
I trust.
Do you trust me?
The little
Are you
word
sure?
eased the tension in my muscles.
I trust.
I'll need to get a
Little
couple
word eased
tools
the
for this.
tension
I'll
in
be
my
right
muscles.
back.
I'll need to get a couple tools for
My
this.
face
I'll be
was
right
inches
back.
away from his chest. My eyes was closed, as they
My
could be.
face
My
was
nose
inches away
soon
from
on
his
his
chest.
skin.
My eyes
He didn't seem to
closed.
mind.
As they could be, my nose soon
With all he
on
kept
his skin.
inside, he
He
must
didn't
have
seem
been
to mind.
repeatedly opening and sewing himself
With all he kept
back together.
inside, he must have been
And yet there were no
repeatedly
visible
opening and
marks
sawing
of
himself-
stitches he
sewing
would make
himself
in
back together.
made in the past.
And yet there were no visible
I'm
marks
going
of
to touch you.
stitches he would make in
The skin
made
was
in the
smooth,
past.
refreshing, and wrong.
I'm going to
Parts
touch
of it
you.
already joined
The
together
skin was
where
smooth,
they had been
refreshing,
fully
and
detached
wrong.
not so long ago.
Parts of it already joined
brought my
together
fingers
where
near a
they had
green
been fully
spot.
detached not so
Their
long ago.
unevenness was reassuring.
I brought my fingers near a green spot.
What do you use for thread?
Their unevenness was reassuring.
Around his index finger, he wrapped 2 strands
What
of
do you use
hair
for
and
thread?
swiftly ripped it off.
Around his index finger,
I took
he
over
wrapped 2
myself,
strands
held
of
it
hair
between
and
my
swiftly
hands and
ripped it
pulled.
off. I took
No
over
matter
myself,
how much I
held
tried
it between
breaking
my
it, one of
hands
my
and
hands
pulled.
always slid off the strand.
No matter
Can
how
I
much
keep
I
it?
tried breaking it, one of my
More.
hands always slid off the strand.
Right, you have
Can I
plenty.
keep it?
Thank
More.
you. I set
Right,
it into
you
my
have
pocket.
plenty.
Come
Thank
closer,
you.
please.
I
I
set it
presented him
into
with a
my
knife
pocket.
and let go of the handle as
Come
I had
closer,
warmed.
please.
It was the sharpest one I
presented him
could
with
have
a
made
knife
it to
and let
be.
go of the handle as I had warmed. It was the sharpest
Make it
one I
wide
could
enough
have
for
made
a
it
finger
be.
to go in. I pointed to his side.
Make it wide
Not bigger
enough
than
for a
that.
finger to go in.
He cut
I
the
pointed
flesh
to
with
his
ease, a
side.
confidence I could
Not
never
bigger
have.
than that.
Now,
He
next
cut the
to
flesh
it,
with ease, a
with a
confidence I
nail,
could never
please.
have.
He handed me the knife,
Now,
and
next
as I
to it,
did as I
with a
asked.
nail, please.
He showed no signs of
He
pain.
handed me the knife
One of my
I
hands, I made a
as I
cup of
asked.
salt water and
He
poured
showed
it
no
on top.
signs of pain.
Still,
One of
he
my
showed no
hands,
signs
I
of
made
pain.
a cup of salt water and
Soon
poured it
enough,
on
the
top.
second wound started to
Still,
close
he
itself.
showed no signs of pain.
The sleek skin would
Soon enough,
eventually
the
hide
second wound
everything.
started to close
All the
itself.
while, the first one
The
became a
sleek
scar.
skin would eventually hide
Okay.
everything. All the while, the
I need
first
you
one
to
became
open
a
yourself
scar.
like you did with your nail.
Okay.
But after,
I need
I'll
you
put
to
this pen
open
in it.
yourself like you did with your nail.
He glared at it for a
But
moment
after,
before planting
I'll put
half
this
a
pen
finger
in it.
in.
He glared at it for
He
a
didn't
moment
seem to
before
like it a lot. He
planting
simply
half a
looked back
finger in.
expectantly. Tell me
He
if it
didn't
hurts.
seem to like it a lot. He simply
pen
looked
went
back
in,
expectantly.
please.
Tell
I
me
look
if it
up.
hurts.
He was
Pen went
smiling.
in, please.
It doesn't hurt.
I look up.
He shook his head.
He was smiling.
Do you not
It
feel
doesn't
pain?
hurt.
Again?
He shook his head.
He shook his head.
Do you not feel
I
pain?
stepped away.
Again?
I'll rest for a
He
bit.
shook his head.
If something
I
feels
stepped
wrong,
away.
please call me.
I'll rest for a bit.
I grabbed the shawl that
If
somehow
something feels
shielded me
wrong,
from the
please
cold
call
night.
me.
I'll be close
I
enough
grabbed
to
the
hear.
shawl that somehow
I turned my
shielded me
back
from
to
the
him.
cold night. I'll be close enough to hear.
Bright lights on the other side of
turned
my
my back to
eyelids
him.
took me out of my sleep. Burning, I sprang
Bright
up.
lights on the other side
Only
of
to
my
find him
eyelids
calm
took
and
me out of my
unaffected.
sleep.
Did
Burning,
nothing
I
happen?
sprang up.
Nothing.
Only to find him calm and unaffected.
I closed the gap
Did nothing
between us.
happen?
Really?
Nothing.
All around us,
I closed the
around
gap
the foreign
between us.
object I had myself
Really?
inserted, the skin was turning
All
into a
around
faded
us,
gray.
Around the foreign
Temptation
object I had
whispered
myself
for me to
inserted,
keep
the
it
skin was
inside and
turning
learn
into
all
a
I
faded
could in
gray.
the coming days.
Temptation whispered for me to
Could
keep it
one
inside
little
and
thing
learn all I
cause
could
him to
in the
decay?
coming days.
Was his body weaker than I presumed?
Could one little thing
He never
cause him
seemed to
decay?
feel much. The
Was his
subject
body
was
weaker
ideal.
than I presumed?
But what right
He never seemed to feel much. The subject
what
was
right
ideal.
had I to abuse
But
this
what right-
numbness of his? I took a
What
breath and
right
carefully
had I
removed
to
the pen.
abuse
He
this
didn't
numbness
wince.
of his?
As gentle as I had been, I washed this part of him that I had tainted. No
As
color
gentle
had
as I had been, I
returned.
washed this part
The
of
hole
him that I had
disappeared.
tainted.
It became nothing but a
No
secret
color
we
had
shared.
returned. The whole
I'm
disappeared.
sorry.
It became
Don't.
nothing but a secret we shared.
I'll come back tomorrow.
I'm sorry. Don't.
I want
I'll
to
come
try
back
something with
tomorrow.
your intestines. I pointed to his abdomen.
I want to try something
You
with
have
your
intestines inside.
I
We need
pointed
a
to
small
his
part.
abdomen. You have intestines
Fearing the
inside.
fascination that grew
We need a
within
small
me, I
part.
turned away, seemingly inspecting.
Fearing the fascination that grew
Keeping
within
my
me,
eyes
I
on
turned
my
away,
basket, my
seemingly
findings, my
inspecting.
branches of varying lengths
Keeping
and
my
widths.
eyes on my basket, my
When he had no
findings,
more
my
stitches to
branches
tear, I
of
looked back.
varying lengths
My
and
eyes
widths.
relished in the pink of his
When
organs.
he had no more stitches to tear,
My
I looked
fingertips
back.
itched to
My
feel
eyes
what
relished in the pink of his
they had
organs.
never had.
My
His hands
fingertips
surround
itched
themselves
to feel
with a
what
pleasant
they
warmth.
had never
He shivered
had.
then.
His
I
hands
realized.
surround themselves with a
I'm
pleasant
so
warmth.
sorry.
He shivered
Forcing my
then.
hand to the top
I
of my chest, I
realized.
studied my breathing.
I'm so sorry.
You should cut it
Forcing
yourself.
my hand to the top of my
Rummaging
chest,
through,
I
I
studied my
buried
breathing.
my heartbeat under the
You should cut
other
it yourself.
sounds until it seemed right
Rummaging
for me to
through,
settle
I
on a
buried
branch.
my heartbeat under the
About
other
the
sounds
size.
until it seemed
His
right for me
nails
to settle on a
glistened.
branch.
I shouldn't look.
About the size. His nails glistened. I shouldn't look.
Here, you can slide it in. He earnestly did, gliding and
Here,
gliding
you
the
can
severed
slide it
piece
in.
around. I didn't dare
He
feel it
earnestly did,
myself.
gliding and
The
gliding
mere
the
act of
severed
watching
piece
was something
around.
I knew I should
I
avoid.
didn't dare feel it
And
myself.
so I tried.
The mere act of watching
There.
was something I knew I should
I
avoid.
reached for his side.
And so I tried.
With your nails.
There.
It took all of me not
I
to
reached for
explore
his side.
further.
With your
So
nails.
tempting it was.
It took all of me not to explore
But never
further.
rejecting any of the things
So
I did.
tempting it
He made me
was.
hope for it to be all
But
fine.
never rejecting any of the things I did.
But
He made me
why
hope
would I
for it
never,
to be all
ever
fine.
hope for such things?
But
He
why
ripped his flesh.
would I never
My
ever
mouth
hope
was
for
so
such
full of
things?
envy to even offer him
He ripped
praise.
his flesh.
All I could give
My
was a
mouth
small
was so full
nod
of
for him
envy
to
to even
proceed.
offer him praise.
The foreign
All I could give
enclosed
was
and
a small
so
nod for
familiar
him to
had been
proceed.
inserted. Granting him a
foreign
smile was the
enclosed
least
and
I
so
could do.
familiar had been
It didn't look
inserted.
somewhat encouraging.
Granting him a smile was the
I
least
had no
could do.
idea. The water was
didn't look
cool and
somewhat
the salt
encouraging.
reviving.
I
A couple
had no
drops
idea.
stayed with me after the
water
rest
was
had left
cool
to
and
heal the
salt
wound.
reviving.
How
A couple
comforting.
drops stayed with me
I
after
straightened
the
my
rest
back
had
and took a
left to
step
heal the
away.
wound.
Be careful when you
comforting.
swim.
I straightened my
Why?
back and took a step away.
We may
Be
heal
careful
fast, but
when
we
you
don't know what
swim.
could happen.
Why?
You're leaving?
You may heal
Well,
fast,
I can say
but
a
we
bit
don't know
more
what
if you
could
want me
happen.
to.
You're leaving?
I sat down.
Well,
Was my
I can say a
presence
bit
enough
more
for
if you
him,
want
or
me to.
had he something he
I sat
expected of
down.
me?
Was
He
my
had
presence enough
reasons
for him,
other
or
than to
had
fulfill his
he
wish for
something he
wings.
expected of me?
After
He
everything I
had
knew,
reasons
no
other
one was
than
ever
to
going
fulfill his wish for
was
wings.
ever fully worthy of
After
trust.
everything I knew,
And
no
I
one
knew
was
so
ever
little
going
of him and his thoughts.
was ever fully worthy of trust.
We could never share ourselves
and I
wholly
knew
to
so
one
little
another.
of him and his thoughts.
No one could ever.
We could
no
never
one
share
ever
ourselves
should.
wholly to one another.
How did it truly
no
matter?
one could ever.
Did I
no
really
one ever
care?
should.
Could it be worse
did
than
it
what I
truly
had
matter?
experienced from
Did I
being
really
as a
care?
human myself and
Could it
seeming
be worse than
understanding
what
in
I had
every way?
experienced from being as a human
Cold
myself
stuck my
and seeming
ears.
understanding
On both
in
sides of my
every
head
way?
were darkened arms sewing with
Cold
little
stuck
stars.
my ears. On
I'm
both
sorry.
sides of my head were
I lowered
darkened
them.
arms sewing with little
My eyes
stars.
followed.
I'm sorry.
I never asked for
I
your
lowered
name.
them.
And don't
My eyes
have.
followed.
Do you mind if
never
I
asked
give
for
you
your
one?
name. Don't have.
Does starling sound good to
Do
you?
you mind if I give you one?
It's a bird you remind me
Does
of.
starling sound good to
Mine's
you?
Jinx.
It's a bird you
Jinx.
remind me of.
Sound had a
Mine's
certain
Jinx.
roughness I thought was to be expected.
Jinx.
Yet at the same time,
Sound
he
had a certain
mouse gave them a
roughness I
softness
thought
I
was to be
forgot they could
expected.
possess.
Yet at the same time, he
Jinx.
mouse gave them
Yes,
a softness I
this is
forgot
how.
they could possess.
The wind brushed
Jinx.
against my skin,
Yes,
Jinx.
this is how. The
breathing
wind brushed
down my
against
neck.
my skin.
I stood up.
Jinx.
Jinx.
Breathing
The
down
name
my
felt
neck.
wrong in his mouth.
I stood up.
Too
Jinx.
honest, too caring.
The name felt
We'll meet
wrong
tomorrow.
in his mouth.
I promise.
Too honest, too caring. We'll meet tomorrow.
It's healed.
I promise.
I rushed to see for myself. You're right.
It's healed.
Poking
rushed to see for
revealed
myself.
nothing unusual.
You're
It had
right.
become part of him. Jealousy
Poking
crept in.
revealed nothing unusual.
Do you want to keep
It
it?
had become part of him. Jealousy crept in.
A gift for you.
Do you want to
He
keep it?
placed the bleeding, pulsating, living arrangement in
A
my
gift
palm.
for you. He placed
Pass
the
some
bleeding,
souvenir.
pulsating, living arrangement in my palm.
It struck and burnt and
Pass some
screamed.
souvenir.
Too precious to drop.
It
Mouth
struck
shut, I
and
watched
burnt
as he
and
dived and
screamed.
jumped.
Too precious to
Blood
drop.
ran down, leaving
Mouth
no
shut,
wound
I watched as
behind.
he dived and jumped.
Unbound, he
Blood
beamed.
ran down, leaving no wound behind.
Had it ever been so blinding?
Unbound, he beamed.
Thank you.
Had
As
it ever
quickly as
been so
possible, I
blinding?
snatched whatever fabric I had
Thank
packed
you.
earlier this morning and
As
wrapped it
quickly
around
as
this
possible,
peculiar
I
gift
snatched
and buried
whatever
it at the
fabric I had packed
very bottom of
earlier
my
this morning and
reliable
wrapped it around
basket.
this peculiar
Now
gift
what?
and buried it at the very bottom
I
of
did
my
have a
reliable
task to
basket.
focus on.
Now Now what?
I found a large branch to use.
I did have a task to focus on.
But before carrying it all the way here, I thought I'd ask.
Branch to use.
What do you think of using bones instead?
I'd ask.
Bones could make for a more appropriate continuation of his being.
Bones could
but they did possess the resistance needed to remain whole long enough. Especially if multiple ones had to be somewhat be attached together. Eric had taught me how weak and breakable they could be. Bones or wood, I'd like you to choose. Wood.
Bones or wood, I'd like
I'll
you to
need
choose.
a moment then. Wood. When I came back an hour later with the branch I had settled on, he was exactly where I'd left him.
When I came back an hour later with the branch I had settled on, he was exactly where I'd left him.
I handed him some cord I had made out of strips of dress I had yearned to drown.
I handed him some cord I had made out of
I'll
strips
start
of
on the
dress I
closer
had yearned
end.
to drown.
He nodded. Picking a piece, I pressed the two
end.
extremities together.
He nodded.
I let my fingers slide down until they reached the very middle. The curve went behind the branch only to be pulled over. And there, the strands that used to be pulled over were forced through.
And there, the strands that
the knot felt too tight, something wrongly placed slightly off. Not enough for me to care.
Too tight.
Having more to fasten, I folded another piece and carried on.
Not enough for me to care.
Once they were all well and tied around, I could start a proper row of knots.
Once they
As I took hold of the second and third string, I felt a tap on my shoulder.
Yes. As I took hold of the second
he pointed
to the
side.
I felt a tap on my shoulder.
His half had two series of even knots waiting to be finished on mine.
His half had two series of even knots.
I'll try to go faster.
Finished on mine.
No,
I'm sorry. I'll try to go faster.
Try.
No,
I can do more.
You can always try.
I will. Thank you.
I can do more.
In a comfortable silence, we went back to our shared tasks.
Thank you. In a comfortable silence, we went
without
back
facing
to our
resistance, I had been drawn so close to his abdomen, countless stitches hiding his insides from my open eyes.
Drawn so close to his abdomen.
Had it happened when I grew tired of feeling the rough stripes of fabric against my fingers? Had it happened when had I let him finish my part? I simply stared. Surely,
when had I let him finish my part? I simply stared.
We need enough intestines to cover the wood. His work was neat.
We need enough intestines to cover the wood.
How would he teach me if I had the confidence to ask? I wondered. I
How
couldn't seem to
would he
find
teach
any
me if I had the
imperfections
confidence to ask?
until I did.
wonder. I couldn't seem
I
to
noticed a
find
loose
any
bit of hair on his
imperfections
chest that
until I
called for
did.
my nails. I
I
didn't
noticed
dare.
a loose bit of hair on his chest that called
Stepping
for my
back,
nails.
I watched as he opened himself.
I didn't dare.
My hands itched to feel.
Stepping back, I
Can
watched
I?
as he opened himself.
Touching
My
a
hands
fraction
itched
had
to
me
feel.
curious for more.
Can I?
How long could it be?
Touching a
How many of
fraction
its
had
folds
me
could I
curious
sense?
for more.
Could I learn to
How
recognize
long
all of
could
them?
it be? How many of its
My
folds
fingers
could I
ventured.
sense?
Deep
Could I
down, we
learn to
both knew the
recognize all of
pursuit to
them?
be in vain.
My fingers
Yet
ventured.
it didn't stop me from
Deep
trying.
down, we both
It
knew
didn't
the
stop me.
pursuit to be in vain.
Stop them from inspecting
Yet
and
it didn't
appreciate
stop
every
me from
part.
trying. It
There wasn't much I could process,
them from
but surely
inspecting and
feeling more
appreciate
would
every
help.
part.
And
There
more.
wasn't much I could process, but
Jinx.
surely feeling more would
Lips on my
help.
collarbone.
And more.
Please.
Jinx.
I didn't mean to.
Lips on my collarbone.
I'm very sorry.
Please.
Let me.
I didn't mean
I
to.
pulled.
I'm very sorry.
The grating of his teeth
Let me.
filled my ears so clearly I
pulled.
found my own echoing his.
The grating of
The
his
link
teeth
seeming
filled
right,
my
I
ears
stopped.
so clearly I found my
You
own
can cut
echoing
it there.
his. The link seeming right,
Studying
I
his
stopped.
breathing, he moved away until
You
his
can cut it
organ was
there.
visible enough.
Studying his
With the
breathing,
calm
he
and
moved
precision I
away
wished
until
I
his
had,
organ was
he
visible
severed the
enough.
tube. Now
With the
slice
calm
it
and
lengthwise.
precision I wished I had,
Be
he
careful.
severed the
I
tube.
want it as one piece.
Now slice it lengthwise.
The organ was extended down
Be
and
careful.
held in
I want it
place.
as one piece.
With our three hands
The organ was
combined before
extended
his
down and
beginning
held
its
in
work.
place. With our
It
three hands
left
combined
a splayed
before
out shape
his beginning
behind,
its work.
a sort of rectangle that
It
grew longer
left
and longer.
a splayed out shape
When it couldn't
behind,
anymore,
a sort of
Sterling looked
rectangle
up.
that grew longer and longer.
You know how to sew?
When it couldn't anymore,
know.
Sterling looked up.
You
You
can
know
sew
how to
this around
sew?
the branch?
I know.
He helped me lay the wood and folded
You
the
can
pink.
sew this around the branch.
Do you have needles and pins?
He helped me lay the
Pulling
wood
more
and
of his
folded
skin
the
away,
pink.
he revealed two ribs
Do you
bearing
have
little
needles and
bones with
pins?
pointed tips.
Pulling more of his skin
No
away,
doubt
he
his
revealed
ability
two
far
ribs bearing
surpassed
little
mine.
bones with pointed tips.
A shame,
No doubt his
truly.
ability far surpassed mine.
I breathed. Twice.
A shame, truly.
Thrice.
I breathed.
As comfortable as I
Twice.
could
Thrice.
minerals I sat.
As comfortable
Knots
as
had been tied, the thread had been secured, and the needle
minerals
had
I
gone
sat.
in and out.
Knots had been tied.
I had
the
missed
thread
the
had been
first
secured,
time.
and the needle had
Now
gone in and out.
I saw. The needle entering the thread following the organ closing.
I saw.
The axe seemed too violent, the colors too vivid, the pain too real. My eyes shifted to his arms. Their skin splayed out would make for such an engrossing painting. A night sky full of stars within reach. I looked down. My skin was white, dry, disgustingly so. The only stars I could be said to possess were peeling bits. By their nature, they were to come off. I had nothing but falling stars to myself. Anything that could make me more turned out to be unattainable. I found myself desperately looking for things that wouldn't fail me. Starring. His eyes found mine. My fingers reached for his stars. I covered two and opened my mouth. Surely they could fit. I covered two and opened my mouth. Do you have more than tongues in your chest? Yes. Other bodies too? Do you have more than tongues in your chest? There are other bodies for you to collect the tongues off of? I covered a third. There are other bodies for you to collect the tongues off of? You keep more in the other bodies? I covered a third. Both. You keep more in the other bodies? Planted near his thumb, I noticed the needle. Both. I glanced over his work. Planted near his thumb, I noticed the needle. Can you show me? I glanced over his work. He gathered pins in his hand. How many? Can you show me? 4. He gathered pins in his hand. How many? One after the other, following the line of his out. After the other, closed his chest to prevent loss. Right back. Following the line of his out, they closed his chest to prevent loss. Right back. They bore no traces of decay. There. Did you do something before storing them in the other corpse? He simply pointed to his chest. Did you do something before storing them in the other corpse? To be so well preserved after the death of oneself, so red and soft. To be so well preserved. My teeth urged me to bite into each of them, to taste each of them more. My teeth urged me to bite into each of them. How full of life, how unlike anything I knew. They moved. What next? How full of life. My palms were wet. I knew. Tainted by liquid envy. My palms were wet. You can start sewing. Tainted by liquid envy. I took 2 of the tongues he held and moved towards the structure laid out. Between the knots I placed one. He held and moved towards the structure laid out. This is how it should look like. Between the knots I placed one. Leave it to me. A higher, a second. Thank you. This is how it should look like. I'll be sitting near. Leave it to me. I believed he knew well enough what to do. He didn't need me there, scrutinizing. Even if he did, I wouldn't have been much use to him. Didn't need me there, unsure of how distracting it could be. I thought it was better for me to keep my questions sealed behind my lips. Distracting it could be. Though now that we had spent time together without him ever going against my wishes, the thought of letting my curiosity and fascination against the needle he so confidently wielded did not seem like such a bad idea. Against the needle he so confidently wielded did not seem like such a bad idea. Mine and the rest of the crew. Mending clothes. You worked on a ship? Mine and the rest of the crew. Did you? You worked on a ship? Did it sink? Yes. Yes. Did you? Did it Is sink? That how you ate? Yes. I'm sorry. Is that how you ate? Forget it, please. I'm sorry. They reminded me of fish scales. Forget it, please. What kind of creatures have you seen in the deep? They reminded me of fish scales. They hide. What kind of creatures have you seen in the deep? So I run. You run after them? I catch them. So I run. To eat them? You run after them? You simply run after them and kill them? To eat them? With no other purpose than the hunt itself? You simply run after them and kill them? Simply fun. With no other purpose than the hunt itself? I had no reason to be surprised. It was natural. Simply fun. Could you show me? I had no reason to be surprised. Or the day after? It was natural. Yes. Could you show me? Maybe tomorrow or the day after? I turned my eyes towards the sea. The light of the setting sun was blinding. I turned my eyes towards seeing what little I showed of the water below. I had been granted the surface, the shallow and even then. They had found a way of depriving me again. I missed the gentle bite of salt. They had found a way of depriving me again. If only it didn't avoid. I missed the gentle bite of salt. 2 of my fingers. If only it didn't avoid. The lack of pain was a bitter fact I could hardly accept. Having parts of me torn apart should have changed something. But they hadn't left much of a mark for me to care. They simply weren't there anymore. But they hadn't left much of a mark for me to care. The wound needed no time to heal. They simply weren't there. It wasn't very human, and it was all. The wound needed no time to heal. It wasn't even enough. It wasn't very human. But for now, it was all. And you? It wasn't even enough. Why here? But for now, it was all. I was looking for a change of scenery. Why here? I needed something different. I was looking for a change
I
of
needed
scenery.
something different and more.
I needed something different.
More? Yes.
I needed something different and more.
I had no idea where or when to stop. I wasn't allowed to have more.
I had no idea
This
where
only
or
deepened
when
my
to
desire.
stop. I wasn't allowed to
He worked
have
while I
more.
lost myself.
This only deepened my
Together
desire.
in silence.
He worked while I lost myself.
One wing complete.
Together in silence.
You're quite fast.
One wing complete.
Now we had one wing to test
You're
and one
quite
wing yet to be
fast.
made. Could you turn around, please?
Now we had one wing to test and one wing yet to be made.
I reached for the top of his spine
Could
and
you
slowly
turn
made
around,
out the
please?
contours of his vertebrae.
I reached for the
Tracing
top
along,
of
I
his
found
spine
his
and
skin to
slowly
be
made out the
surprisingly
contours of
soft.
his
None
vertebrae.
of the occasional faded
Tracing along, I
scars
found
took
his
away
skin
much
to
of
be
this fact.
surprisingly soft. None of the
My tongue
occasional
longed
faded
for a
scars
taste,
took away much of
was
this
to be
fact.
kept down.
My
I
tongue
moved my
longed
fingertips
for a
away from the center
taste,
to feel his
was
shoulder
to be kept
blades. Near a
down.
set of deeper scars,
I
I
moved my
sensed a
fingertips
spot
away
that
from
felt
the center
right.
to feel his shoulder blades.
Can you give
Near
me
a
your
set of
right
deeper
hand,
scars,
please?
I sensed a spot that felt right.
Thank you.
Can you give me
Carefully, I
your right
guided
hand,
his nails
please?
until they were where they had to be.
Thank you.
There.
Carefully, I guided his
You can
nails
lie
until
down.
they were where they had to
With
be.
both my hands, I dragged
There.
the wing up to his back.
You can lie
Wooden
down.
and tentized
With both my hands, I
intestines
dragged
went
the
into
wing
the
up to his
flesh,
back.
together as one.
Wooden and tentized
Pouring salt water, I let his
intestines went into
skin
his
close
flesh,
around the
together as
welcome
one.
and not quite
Pouring
foreign.
salt water, I let his
How does it
skin
feel?
close around the welcome and
Mine.
not quite foreign.
I sure
How does
hope
it feel?
so. I dried and warmed my
Mine.
stinging hands against my skirt.
I sure hope so.
Do you mind
I
if I take
dried
care
and
of...
warmed my stinging hands
Do you
against my
mind if I
skirt.
take care of your
Do
hair?
you mind if I take care of...
You can.
Do you mind if I take care
I
of
dived
your
into
hair?
the uneven mass, trying to
can.
untangle it however I could.
I
Once the
dived
results
into the
seemed
uneven
satisfactory
mass,
enough, I
trying to
separated it
untangle
into
it
3
however I
parts.
could. Once the
There I
results seemed
started
satisfactory
plating.
enough, I separated it into
Have you ever
3
considered
parts.
tying it,
There I started plating.
trying or cutting
Have you ever
it
considered
shorter?
tying,
Shook his head,
trying
setting a
or-
couple
trying
strands
or
free.
cutting it shorter?
If you want
Shook
me
his
to,
head,
I can teach
setting a
you.
couple strands free.
No.
If you want me to, I can teach you.
He was free to decline, and I had no reason to ask why.
No.
Wordlessly, I continued
He was free to
entwining what I
decline,
held.
and I had no reason to ask
Reaching
why.
the end, I pulled the last
Wordlessly,
ribbon I
continued
owned out of my
entwining
boot.
what I held.
He glimpsed
Reaching
at the
the
white
end, I pulled
fabric
the last
covering the
ribbon I
stain
owned
of
out of
grass.
my boot.
Curious,
He glimpsed at the
surely,
white fabric
yet he
covering
said
the stain
nothing.
of grass.
There you go.
Curious,
You
surely,
shouldn't get caught
yet
in the
he
tongues.
said nothing.
Do you like
There you
it?
go.
Yes.
You shouldn't get caught in the tongues.
How new
Do you
and
like it?
refreshing it felt.
Yes.
No. In an instant,
How
the ribbon
new
was
and
ripped and
refreshing it
sent
felt.
floating, soaking,
No.
drowning. The hair
In
loosened,
an
half
instant, the
made.
ribbon was ripped and sent
He
floating,
stared at a
soaking,
point somewhere
drowning.
behind me.
The hair loosened, half
He
made.
didn't unfasten the rest,
He
nor
stared
did
at
he
a point
explain
somewhere
himself.
behind me.
I looked back.
He didn't unfasten
Only to find
the rest,
nothing that
nor
hadn't
did he
been there
explain
before.
himself. I looked
What
back.
are you seeing that I don't?
Only to find nothing
No
that
word,
hadn't been
no
there
motion.
before.
Had
What
he
are you
even heard
seeing
my
that I
voice?
don't?
Slowly,
No
as
word,
if to
no
prove myself
motion.
no threat, I made my
Had
way
he
to
even
his
heard
side
my
and
voice?
back.
Slowly,
He was
as if
cold to
prove
the
myself
touch
no
and
threat,
moving
I made
still.
my way to his side
I
and
tapped
back.
on his skin.
He
The
was
color
cold
hadn't
to the
changed,
touch
the
and
texture
moving
hadn't
still.
either.
I tapped
The
on
wound
his
had
skin.
disappeared as
The
we had
color
hoped
hadn't
it would.
changed, the texture
Starling.
hadn't either.
Jinx.
The wound had disappeared as we had
Yes,
hoped it
it's
would.
me.
Starling.
How are you feeling?
Jinx.
He turned and
Yes, it's
tied
me.
his arms around me.
How are you
Starling,
feeling?
I need to breathe,
He turned
please.
and tied his
His
arms
strength
around
was no
me.
match for mine.
Starling, I need to breathe.
It never had
please.
been. It
His
never
strength
would
was
be.
no match for mine. It never
Do
had
you
been.
miss me now?
It never would be.
You ran so far, and for what?
Do you miss me now?
This is not the same.
You ran
couldn't
so
be.
far, and for what?
Of course it isn't.
This is not the same.
You loved me.
It couldn't be.
I did.
Of course it isn't.
Did I?
You loved me.
I don't want this.
I did.
Caged
Did I?
by limbs, I grew sick with
I
their
don't want this.
numb.
Cage number by limbs.
I grew sick while their number grew.
Numb.
He never had
Number.
more than 2 arms and
I grew
hands,
sick
yet
while
I
their
felt them
number grew.
everywhere. So much
He
skin
never
I
had
didn't
more
want
than 2
against
arms and
mine.
hands,
So many
yet I felt
nails I
them
never
everywhere.
wanted inside.
So much skin I didn't want.
Wounds I
against
tried
mine.
to
So many
conceal
nails
from
I
my
never
own
wanted
self split
inside.
open once more.
Wounds I tried
I
to
was
conceal
far
from
more
my
gentle,
own self
wasn't I?
split open once more.
Was he?
I was far
I had
more
no
gentle,
desire to
wasn't I?
remember.
Was he?
What is there to remember
I had
when you
no
have
desire to
me
remember.
to simply tell? Stop
What
it,
is there to
please.
remember when you have me to
Why
simply
would you
tell?
ever want me to?
Stop it, please.
Throat burning, mouth
Why
forced
would you ever
closed, I
want me
found
to?
that I couldn't bring my teeth back together.
Throat burning, mouth
A familiar
forced closed,
tongue
I
played
found
with
that
my
I couldn't
own,
bring my teeth
and I
back
gave up,
together.
as I had done
A
many
familiar
nights
tongue
before.
played with my own, and I gave up. as I
Filled with
had
cold
done
and
many nights
emptiness, I
before.
woke up.
There were no sun in the sky to warm
Filled
me or
with
glare
cold
at
and
me.
emptiness, I woke up.
Had been replaced by a gentle moon or shimmering light bright enough to guide me into the dark.
Had been replaced by a gentle
Sore all over from the time I spent lying
to guide me into the dark.
Raised half my body.
Sore all over from the time I spent lying.
No answer.
Raised half my
his
body.
brows, his face, as everything was
Starling.
relaxed.
No answer.
How sweet you look when
His
you
brows, his
sleep.
face, as everything was relaxed.
How sweet indeed.
How sweet you look when you
Although
sleep.
not as much as myself.
How sweet indeed.
Starling, you should wake up.
Although not as much as myself.
Would that not prevent you
Starling,
from running?
you should wake up.
Starling, we have another
Would that
win
not
to make.
prevent you from running?
One unexpected state of the
Starling, we
one
have
he
another
already
win to
has. I need you to
One
wake up,
unexpected
please.
state of the one he already has.
If asking fells,
I
could you
need
not
you to
try
wake up,
begging, my
please.
love?
If
Starling,
asking
look at me.
fells, could you not try
Speak to me,
begging,
please.
my love? Starling,
Why
look at
wait
me.
for his words?
Speak to me, please.
Take them yourself. Open
Why
him to
wait for
find
his
an answer.
words? Take them yourself.
Isn't it quite simple, love?
Open him to find an answer.
Is it?
Isn't
Trust
it
me,
quite
it
simple,
is.
love?
Is it?
Nose against his stitches, I held
Trust
my
me,
breath.
it is. Enough waiting.
Nose against his
Teeth
stitches, I held
snatched
my
at
breath.
the thread. Enough waiting.
They pulled and pulled until his insides
Teeth
were
snatched
fully
at
mine
the
to see.
thread.
They pulled
Troubled
and
his
pulled until
eyes
his insides were
took a
fully
half-
mine to see.
Troubled eyes took in his half-empty
Troubled his
rib
eyes
his
took
half-empty rib cage.
Troubled eyes took in his
No matter how many were
half-empty rib-
used, he never ran out of
half-empty
tongues.
rib cage in.
He
No
duly
matter
kept
how many
more
were
of these
used, he
discarded
never ran
organs,
out of
forever
tongues.
deprived of their ability to
He
lie.
duly kept more of these
Throwing them
discarded
away, I
organs,
made
forever
space for
deprived
myself.
of their ability to lie.
If
Throwing them
only
away,
you
I
could
made
fit in
space
that
for
rotted
myself.
cage of his. I can.
If only you could fit in
I
that
drowned
rotted
his
cage of
sigh in the
his.
sea of bones
I can.
breaking. How weak
I
you
drowned
made him.
his sigh in the sea of bones breaking.
Ooh.
How weak
My
you
head
made
could
him.
rest in his chest.
Ooh.
My lips could
My head
soften
could
his
rest in his
heart.
chest.
A cheek of mine could lie on a
My
lung of
lips could
his,
soften his heart.
and I.
A cheek
How
of mine could lie on a
suffocating.
lung of his.
I
And
didn't mean to.
How
You
suffocating.
didn't listen.
I
His heart
didn't
did
mean
not
to.
beat.
You
I
didn't
should have
listen.
listened.
His heart did not
You could
beat.
listen now.
I should have listened.
I couldn't hear the waves hitting the shore.
You could listen now.
Are you finally ready to come
I couldn't
home?
hear the waves hitting the shore.
I reached for the
Are
pieces
you
of flesh I
finally
had
ready to
detached.
come home?
Of course
I
you
reached for the
were.
pieces of flesh I
Closing
had
them
detached.
on ourselves, I freed
Of
myself
course you
from his
were.
words.
Closing them
You
on
lied.
ourselves. I freed myself from his words.
You lied. Okay, I don't know what that was.
Okay, I don't know what that
I'm
was.
assuming that was the ending. And I'm gonna assume
I'm
we
assuming that was the ending.
killed the
And I'm
dude.
gonna assume we killed the
I
dude?
don't know.
I don't know. I am really confused.
Really.
I am
Really confused.
Really confused.
Are you guys confused?
Really.
Because I'm really confused.
Really confused. Are you guys confused? Because I'm really confused.
So yeah.
So yeah.
To be honest, I'm not sure what that was.
To be honest, I'm not sure what that was.
I expected something completely different.
I expected something completely different.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will see you guys on the next one.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.